Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. We're here today in the top four of Charlie's Collectible Show's Lorcana 2K. Had a pleasure of streaming their 10K yesterday and their finals here today. Really excited to be here. I'm one of your announcers, SirAshtown, and join with me is Hal Brady. How you doing, Hal?
Still doing good. We've got a top four match here: Joshua versus George. George, our first seed after our 8 rounds of Swiss on Ruby Amethyst, against Josh, our fourth seed on Emerald Steel. Bucky Diablo. So the first seed is going to be able to be on the play, which is definitely where the Ruby Amethyst player wants to be in this matchup. Interesting. I don't know. Going into this weekend, it felt really like the Emerald Steel has a pretty big advantage over Ruby Amethyst, but just a few of these subtle changes out of these Ruby Amethyst decks, it feels like it's helped a little bit. I think it still is on the Emerald Steel's favor if they can secure a turn 2 Bucky. I think it's more about Bucky. If you can secure a Diablo and keep it into play for a long amount of time, it does put a kind of a stranglehold on the Ruby Amethyst player, but they've got several answers for that as opposed to the Bucky that will just sit there and start eating away at their hand. So it really doesn't come down to the players' draws, but we'll see how George fares. I'm sure first seed going into the top 8, he's probably faced the Emerald Steel deck at least once today.
And we do have both lists available for us to view here as we're commentating, and we're looking at George's list. He's running a split of Meta Medusa and Lady Tremaine 3-1.
Yeah, interesting. And and he's on the full 4 Be Prepared, which looks like it was a pretty popular choice going into this weekend as well. And then he's on 3B B King Undisputed. So I mean, we saw Lady Tremaine in our 10K just be a very good choice and get a lot of value on top of those B King Undisputed, especially against those Sapphire decks. Those choose and banish a character effects are just so powerful against them. But we'll see how it fares here for George going into Joshua's Emerald Steel deck. So George went with the turn 1 Churnabox followers, and it looks like he quested for 1 and went ahead and banished it immediately. Josh with the turn 1 Robin Hood into turn 2 Deceiver, and unfortunately for George, he does have one song in his hand. It's that Friends of the Other Side, which very likely would have been his choice of play on turn 3.
Now George having a turn 3 Brawl if he chooses to play it. Information that Joshua did not get during his peak with Ursula.
And take a look at George's hand. Looks like we inked the snake there. He's got a Brawl in him, but he's got 3 copies of that Merlin Rabbit in hand. So let's see what Josh has got here. He's got Ursula Deceiver of all. So now George is going to have to make a decision. The Deceiver Ball can be pretty terrifying, especially if Josh has got a sudden chill, and he's going to say, you know what, I can't afford to take my turn 4 off. I got to get this rabbit into play. And oh, he did draw a copy of Be Prepared, which is real nice. Right after that, Ursula Deceiver has already snagged a card, so unless Josh can find another one or rip his hand apart, which might be a little difficult without the Bucky, but here comes the Ursula Deceiver of all. Let's see if he's got the sudden chill or maybe just a removal song for the rabbit. And it's going to be a double Let the Storm Rage on, so Joshua's going to get to draw 2 extra cards here. George's rabbit's going to hit the bin, draw him another card, and he's got a Maui off of that. So next turn, George is going to go up to 5, getting really close to that 7. Josh loading up the board with another 1-drop Robin Hood, shifting the other one into the Champion of Sherwood, and everyone out that can going sideways for a little bit of lore.
Well, lots of action on Joshua's side of the board, really trying to maintain priority here in the board state. We know, like you were saying, Hal, that George has that Be Prepared, trying to get up there.
Yeah, and we see George actually just top decked another copy of Friends of the Other Side. So let's see what he wants to do. He's going to ink the Fox, and he is going to go ahead and get the Maui down. That'll give something for Joshua to have to deal with on board. It's going to take out his Ursula Deceiver of all. And we see here it gets real dangerous for the Emerald Steel deck if they don't have that turn 2 Bucky to eat away at George's hand. See if he's going to have enough inkables. Now, he's got the Be Prepared. He's still got another couple rabbits. He's got the Friends of the Other Side and a Brawl. And Josh is going to go with a Tragic Beast. No Bucky to trigger the discard. And next turn, George is going to go to 6. At this point, I don't think Josh is going to be able to get all of the cards out of George's hand. He's really going to need to find another copy of that Ursula Deceiver to snag that Be Prepared out of his hand. And George draws another copy of Friends of the Other Side. So if he wants this turn, he could just go for 2 of those. So he's going to fire off one of those friends, draws another copy of Be Prepared. I don't think there is any way at this point Josh is going to be able to prevent him from resolving a Be Prepared next turn. And it looks like Josh is down to about his last card as well. Now the Tragic Beast is going to get to draw an extra one. Looks like he drew another copy of Brawl and another copy of Maui, threatening to be prepared the very next turn. Looks like he found a Sudden Chill off of the Beast draw. And I think Josh is just going to go aggressive here. He's questing out. I think he already sees it coming. It's an additional 6 lore. It's gonna pump up his lore value all the way up to 14. We're only 6 away. It looks like he's got a copy of We Don't Talk About Bruno. Sudden Chill. Just go ahead and fire it off. We don't want to commit any other characters to the board. Let's fight back at some of George's hand. Now it's kind of a win for Josh to get it rabbit out of his hand for free. Looks like he drew a copy of Be King Undisputed, but Maui's going to be that 7th ink, and we're going to clear the board with Be Prepared. And what Josh doesn't know is George has got another one ready and a Be King Undisputed for what other threats he could follow up with.
And Ruby Amethyst just doing what Ruby Amethyst does, just drawing so many cards here, getting up to 7 ink, able to play that Be Prepared, and now we're seeing follow-up rabbits with a Brawl to take out that Diablo.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know that Josh is gonna be able to get out of this. The only saving grace he's got here is that he is already at 14 lore to George's 1, so maybe he'll be able to grind it out and get that last 6 lore. Now he sees the bucket that I would have really liked to see on turn 2 this game. This would have been a completely different game 1 if he would have seen that in the early turns.
We may see Joshua trying to utilize some of those evasive characters just to get in, but when you see cards like George having this Be King Undisputed, playing just one character at a time is not going to be the way to get there. We see George able to play at Queen's Castle and move the rabbit over in the same turn.
Yeah, and all Josh has to answer is a Robin Hood Champion of Sherwood. George is going to go up by 2 lore. He's going to draw an extra card. He's got the Madame Medusa ready to go, keeping Josh's board clear. He's just probably going to have too many immediate answers. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh doesn't gain another single lore this game. All right, so Josh finds one of those Floodborn Steel Aladdins, and now George is drawing 3 cards a turn. It's the opposite of what the Emerald Steel deck is trying to accomplish here, and we're going to sing another Be King Undisputed. There's a Sisu, there's a Flynn. This game will be over potentially next turn. Josh may have just had enough and may scoop it up here very shortly, but next turn, George being at 6, he would go to 8 from the castle, 3 more from the Flynn, putting me at 11, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, Josh is going to go ahead and scoop him up, and we are going to move on to game 2.
Wow, what a first game between George and Joshua. Just that back and forth. You're right. Joshua most likely wanting to have seen a Bucky earlier in the match than when he did. That could have turned out incredibly different, but George able to just utilize his draws, play to his outs, and able to find those answers. We want to thank y'all for tuning in here today at Charlie's Collectible Show, Lorcana 2K. We're here with 20 Lore Pro streaming their event. We want to thank them so much just for allowing us to come in and just stream this event. And for you, the viewer, for joining us today. If you missed any of the previous rounds in today's tournament, you can head on over to 20 Lore Pro's YouTube early this week, and we'll have those for your viewing pleasures. We want to thank our production team today here with Nexus, helping us stream today's event. Nexus is a gaming venue located in Waco, Texas. Nexus offers esports, TCG, and dining, and is an elite gaming hangout to build your local gaming community. And we want to thank you, Hal, for joining us today here from Lorcana. If you'd like to see some versus matches or the latest in competitive Lorcana, check out Hal over at Lorcana on YouTube.
Yep, thank you. We've been trying to put out weekly content, some new versus video series I've been working on. The last one I just did with Brendan Patrick from the podcast. So we had a lot of fun recording that. So yeah, check it out, Lorcana on YouTube, and I'm at Hal Brady on Twitter as well.
Again, we want to thank so much Charlie's Collectible Show here for allowing us to stream today's event. Charlie's Collectible is a passionate community celebrating fandoms every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring anime, toys, comics, video games, TCGs, and much more. We want to thank Diamond Ink Apparel, who did the artwork for the Charlie's Collectible Show's 10K. They did the top 4 art for the playmats that was a rendition of Tiana's Palace. Really appreciate Diamond Ink Apparel. If you're looking for artwork for your next event, head on over to Diamond Ink Apparel. And we want to thank GFQ Underground for printing these amazing mats that you see here on the feature match today. GFQ Underground is a custom playmat printer. Head on over to GFQ Underground's Discord and order yours today.
So here we are in game 2. Josh is going to be on the play. He's got a turn 1 Pegasus. George is going to follow up with a turn 1 Chernobog's followers. And see if Josh has got that bucket for turn 2, and he does. Let's see if he can make this a different story on the play in game 2. George is going to ready up. I would not be surprised if this followers is going to go ahead and quest for 1 and banish itself to draw an extra card. I like to do that before any sort of Diablo shenanigans can start hitting the board. He's got 2 copies of Friends of the Other Side in hand. So Ursula Deceiver would not be able to snag both of those. See what he wants to choose for the ink. It's like a Queen's Castle. It's a very powerful card in the matchup, still considering that, but it's really once they have kind of cleared the board, and it's really to assure the game out once they've gained control of everything. So I'm going to pass it back over to Josh, and let's see if he's got a Floodborn ready to go for turn 3. Josh inks for the turn. He does shift that Pegasus, so he's got a 3/3 evasive. The quest for 2, going to force George to put one of his cards in the bin. Mulling it over here, he's got a few different decisions. Could be a Brawl, could be a Rabbit, could be a Madame Medusa. All really good cards in the matchup. Brawl really reserved more for those early Diablo plays, so he decides to get rid of that. So if he's able to hold on to the Medusa for a later Diablo, he could have an answer for that. Medusa could also potentially answer the Pegasus if needed. So he inks the Maui, and just as how we have seen Ruby Amethyst overcome these Emerald Steel decks is they just draw cards. They don't need to commit any cards to the board. They want to ink every turn, want to keep their hand full. So he goes ahead and fires off that Friends of the Other Side to keep his healthy hand size up. Now Josh does not have a Floodborn to fire off for this turn. He opts to go for the Ursula Deceiver of all. So the Pegasus is going to go in for 2, pass back to George, and let's see what he's going to do for turn 4.
And what a turn Joshua could have with maybe singing Sudden Chill, getting 2 discards, and playing a Floodborn. That could just be a great turn here, but not able to see it here because of this Brawl from George, taking out that Ursula Deceiver of all.
And George is already up to 4, only 3 turns away from getting that Be Prepared ink range. Josh was going to go with a 1-drop Robin Hood. So he's going to quest for 2 with the Pegasus. Touching the Bucky there, considering maybe question for that. It's a little dangerous going into George's turn 5. The potential Maui could take it out, but no other additional Floodborn even on turn 4. So George is going back over there, readying up his ink. Most likely, probably think maybe the Rabbit, maybe the Friends of the Other Side. I don't believe he's found a copy of Be Prepared yet, but he's got a few draws left. He's going to keep digging, keep drawing for that. Finds a copy of Be King Undisputed. Going to ink one of those CCUs. He's up to 5 ink. Next turn, he is going to be in range for that Madame Medusa.
Gosh, having a turn 2 Bucky here in this match. We did see the shift Pegasus, but no other floodboards from there. Reveals 2 Sudden Chills.
Man, he really wanted to fire those off with that Ursula Deceiver. That Brawl on the Deceiver was a big hit from George. So you really know how you want to have to play this game. You got no Floodborns, just having to hard cast a couple Sudden Chills. George's got plenty of cards to work with. Lady Tremaine going to hit the bin along with the Madame Mim Snake. He's going to go in for 2 lore with the Pegasus back over, but I wouldn't be surprised. George probably going to fire off this Madame Medusa. Oh, he could sing the Friends with the Rabbit too, just to have a maximum amount of information to choose from, and that's what he's going to go with. He finds the Frenemy, going to throw that into the ink. Madame Medusa taking out the Pegasus. Still hasn't found a copy of Be Prepared, but he may not need it this game.
Yeah, just talk about all this drawing here and great plays from the Brawl, just being able to take care of that Ursula before we saw 2 Sudden Chills just get double sung. It really keeps George here into the game.
Joshua down to the last card in his hand. He deploys the Ursula Deceiver of all. Rabbit's going to sing a Be King Undisputed. Not a tough choice for Joshua. He's going to put that 1-drop Robin Hood into the bin. And then Fox is going to bring that Rabbit back to hand, draw an additional card. Yeah, George just may not have to get to that board wipe this game. He may just take over with what he's got. Unfortunately, Joshua did have the turn 2 Bucky, but just did not have the follow-up Floodborns to get those cards out of George's hand.
And George just showing us this match really great gameplay from just the ability to stay cool, keep drawing, doing your bounce plays, make sure Inkwell goes up, try to find your outs. We see Ursula here able to double sing and get rid of that Madame Medusa with Let the Storm Rage On, followed up by Along Came Zeus.
Yeah, just really not what he's wanting to see here. At least he's controlling the board a little bit, but Rabbit is still free to just run rampant here. He's going to quest for one, fox it back, draw another card. He gets another Madame M Snake, just all the card draw he could possibly want, and be able to craft his hand, find literally anything he could possibly desire. Magic Broom comes down, immediately gets banished when that Rabbit comes down, so he draws another additional 2 cards. Fox take out the Deceiver. George has still got another copy of Friends of the Other Side. There is no way Josh is going to get him completely ended, but he finally does find a 5-drop Floodborn. It's going to be that Tragic Beast. So he's going to discard 1 card. It's going to be the GOAT. We're not really worried about that. He finds another copy of Bee King Undisputed, but we'll start off with Rabbit singing Friends of the Other Side and see what he wants to do here. So if he does end up deploying the Bee King Undisputed, I don't think it's really a tough decision for Josh. It would be unfortunate, but I think he's going to have to get rid of the Bucky because George has still got 5 cards in hand, and Tragic Beast is his only hope to keep in this game.
There's another bounce return from this Rabbit, just seeing so much draw power from this deck.
Yep, and here we go. Looks like Fox is just happy to quest in for one. Josh is at 10. He's drawing 2 cards for the turn. 10, just not quite enough critical mass of lore to try to steal this game away, I don't believe. 3 cards left in hand. Josh is in full command. Got a grip full of cards still over there, and he's still got a couple of Rabbits, bounce effects. He can easily draw another 3 to 4 cards a turn for the next few turns.
Here's a second Beast Tragic Hero on Joshua's side of the board. Going to help him draw a whole lot during his next turn. Just really, and honestly, representing 2 lore each. We'll see that King Undisputed, though, hit the board, taking out one of those beasts.
Yep, so still just with the full card advantage, and here comes the Flynn Frenemy, and then George is just questing away, trying to close this one out as soon as possible. So if Josh doesn't find an answer for the Frenemy, he's going to have to make a tough decision. He really doesn't want that Frenemy to trigger for 3 additional lore. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lore potentially for George, putting him to 15. That is a danger zone for Ruby Amethyst to be in, but he draws a couple cards, see what he can do. He's got a Bucky, followed by a Jafar Dreadnought. Not a bad start to getting back in the game. Don't think it's going to quite be enough at this point. And if he does just pass back, that Fox is going to be the biggest attack amount on the board, and the Frenemy would bump George up to 10 lore. Thinking it over, really thinking hard about what to do here. I mean, letting George go up to 10 for free just from the Frenemy trigger, not to mention how much he could quest with. And the Frenemy is not exerted, so yeah, he does have to go with that. I can't blame him for that. It's a really tough decision that you have to make here, but at least it stops that trigger from happening now. George can only go for a maximum of 4 here, but he's got a copy of Sisu. He's got another Fox, so he can still loop these Rabbits that he's got in hand. Maleficent's going to finish off the Beast. Quest for 2, quest for 3, including the Frenemy. And then the Fox is going to bounce something back. It's going to bounce back the Rabbit, draw an additional card. It's another copy of Sisu. Just deploys another Rabbit. The flow of cards just will not stop here. And now he finally finds a copy of Be Prepared just in case he needs to hit that panic button, but I highly doubt that we're going to see that in this game. So back over to Josh. His board consisting of the Jafar Dreadnought and the Bucky. Still a few too many cards in George's hand for the Bucky to really be able to run back into this game. Jafar's going to take out a Snake, and that does draw Josh another card. Josh has done a good job of hanging on in there, getting a few extra cards to turn himself. So see what he's got. He's going to Let the Storm Rage On. It's a nice, clean answer to the Frenemy. It replaces itself, so he's not down a card still. inks a 1-drop Diablo. For along came Zeus, clears out another card. Now the Sisu's down. So he's doing his best. I mean, props to Josh for fighting back. I mean, it's not over yet. They're at a lore parity of 10-10. The Jafar Dreadnought's going to hit the bin. Rabbit's going to draw another card. He plays another Rabbit, draws another card. Just too many answers, too much card draw from George, and he is ready to start deploying these goats and start trying to close this game out and run away with the lore. And now the goat in the frenemy, I mean, that speeds up the clock so much.
Wow, just so many great plays that we're seeing here from George, really able to utilize all that drawing to the best of the abilities to just play out these strong characters. This Flynn here just representing 3 lore here on the board.
Yep, so Josh just still with the 1 Bucky in hand, see if he's got any Floodborns to keep trying to attack George's hands, but he really needs to find an answer to that frenemy. A Jafar Dreadnought's not going to be the biggest thing on the board. George bins a Sisu, and he does have a Let the Storm, or a Strength of the Raging Fire to take out the frenemy, so there's no extra 3 lore, but George is at 12, so he's got another Rabbit. He can quest for 3, go to 15. The goat threatening, putting him to 16. There's a Madam Medusa to take out the Jafar, and I think that's going to do it. I think George will have the game locked up just this next turn. Josh takes a look at his last draw and inks a Pegasus, and that should do it. Bucky getting in
there.
One last hurrah. Let's get it done. Josh extends the hand. George takes the semifinals match 2-0. So congratulations to Josh for a great finish this weekend, and George is going to move on to the finals.
Congratulations to these 2 competitors. We've gotten word from our producers that Zan and Austin had to play. They played out their match. Zan had to go for a family arrangement, and so Austin will be moving on, piloting an Emerald Steel list into the finals against George. Your finals will be Austin piloting Emerald Steel versus George piloting Amethyst Ruby. Be looking out for that match here in just a moment. We'll be going into the finals. Thank you for joining us here at 20 Lore Pro at Charlie's Collectible Shows, Lorcana 2K. See y'all here in just a moment.